What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerd Ventures Tower, and the She-Hulk trailer is here. And there's some good, there's some bad, and there's some ugly, horrible, unfinished CGI that we need to discuss. And so I want to start by breaking down the fun things that are in the trailer. Then I want to talk about the CGI and like what the heck's going on with that. And then I want to finish this video off by talking about why I'm very excited for the She-Hulk show. The trailer got me super excited, and I dare say I'm more excited for this show, and I think I'll enjoy it more than I did the Moon Knight show. So the trailer begins with Bruce Banner talking about what it means to be a hero, talking about a trial by fire, and talking about who else will save people if not people like you, talking about his cousin Jennifer Walters. Cuts into a big sequence that we saw teased out late last year for the investor call thing at Disney and Disney Plus Day. And Banner's talking to her about fear and anger being the states that control the transformation. Jennifer's talking about how that's like the baseline place for women just in general. And then Bruce starts these like claw machine things there, and she's like, kind of feels like if I don't transform, I'm going to die here. She gets angry, transforms. Hulk's like, yes, but then she's really mad at him and breaks off the door, and he's like, no. And I felt like it was hilarious, but also a perfect sequence to put in the trailer right on Front Street. Because Bruce Banner, the Hulk, being in the show is fantastic. And you could see throughout the trailer many different shots that he is in, and you can see him trying to continuously help and train Jennifer. He even says, you didn't ask for this, cuz, but, you know, here we go. And this is because very likely they're going to do the thing that happened in the comic books where Bruce Banner gives blood to do a blood transfusion to save the life of his cousin, Jennifer Walters. She then inherits the Gamma or Hulk powers. And I absolutely love how much Bruce seems to be involved in this show. Ton of fun. There are big rumors for where that is going to lead towards the end of the show, with Hulk maybe leaving the planet with another Hulk-like being and having that much connection to an Avenger, and thereby perhaps learning stuff about the status quo of the world. It just seems awesome to me, and I think it's really going to amplify the fun of this show. The trailer then proceeds to have Jennifer Walters explaining who she is, talking about herself being a lawyer, and we see a shot of this big facility, which seems to be the MCU version of the Cube. Now, the Cube is a big old prison in the middle of the Nevada desert that houses gamma-powered supervillains. A lot of the Hulk's villains are housed there. And so now we've seen the raft and we've seen the Cube, pretty wild stuff, but through this job of hers, I think it's very likely that we'll meet a lot of different Marvel characters, villains, possibly even heroes that just didn't sign the Accords. And we see Blonsky, right? We see the Abomination in human form when this is all being set up, and we know he's going to play a big role in the show. We see him later on in the show in his Abomination form in that same prison cell. And yes, that prison cell appears to be the same one that Wong takes him back to after the fight they had in the Shang-Chi movie. And if you even look at the different blades that are used in that scene when Hulk is training Jennifer, you can see Stark written on them. And I think this will likely tie into the Armor Wars show and the status quo of Stark's technology being now used in the hands of the government for the Avengers, because these Avengers like Hulk, like Wong, have likely signed the Sokovia Accords and are working technically for the government or this World Council of the United Nations, and the government has control of most of Tony Stark's tech. Now, the end of the trailer has a lot of different shots that are showing the Jennifer Walters character dealing with her new fame and her new powers. A lot of people having different opinions and looks at that. And of course, there's a part of it where she's swiping through Tinder and going on different dates as the She-Hulk character. Now, interestingly, in the trailer earlier on, when she says, I'm a lawyer, that also appears to be her on a date. And I think they're going to do something interesting in the show where She-Hulk gets way more right swipes on Tinder than just regular Jennifer Walters, the lawyer, as you would expect. But She-Hulk in the comics is promiscuous. She does sleep around. And there's even this moment in the comics where she's having pillow talk with Tony Stark after they had a thing. And she's asking him, why do you get to sleep around and you're considered a player, but I sleep around and I'm considered a slut or a whore? And that's totally fair topic. It's been a topic that people have brought up for a long, long time as far as a double standard with promiscuity and being sexually active. That is something very important to the character in certain versions of it in the comic books. And it looks like like that will be on full display here in the She-Hulk show. And I think it's played very funny. It's played like not super serious, but you know, there's an underlining tone there of some reality that actual women face. And beyond all of that, there's so much fun Marvel craziness in this trailer. You see She-Hulk actually being attacked by Titania in the courtroom. You see a bunch of people that appear to be the Wrecking Crew in the show, and I will admit the Wrecking Crew doesn't look nearly as cool as I would have hoped they would look like, but maybe they'll get actual costumes or something eventually in the show. And by the way, one of them actually has a crowbar that's powered by Asgardian magic from a Norn, and it's absolutely hilarious and also incredible. There's even a shot in the trailer where it appears to me that She-Hulk is swiping right on Matt Murdock, and it's rumored that Matt Murdock and even Daredevil in the yellow suit is going to be in She-Hulk, and I've heard that Matt and She-Hulk are actually going to hook up in the show, which again seems totally on par for her from the comics. But now let's talk about the CGI, because it's really, really bad. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. There are certain shots in the trailer where it looks absolutely fine, even really good, but then there are some other shots that look wildly horrible, like really, really bad, like PS freaking 2 cutscene bullcrap. And I don't know what the exact reason for this is, but we had heard that the She-Hulk show was having a lot of trouble behind the scenes, and if they were reshooting stuff or making a lot of changes to make the show better, that would have essentially mean that all that stuff they recreate, they then have to get fine-tuned from a VFX team, which, of course, there's like a lot of crunch going on in the movie world right now with all of these different movies having so many different visual effects, and so it's very likely the case that they just simply used unfinished CGI shots in the trailer, which I don't know, man. I gotta be honest, I don't think that was a good thing to do, and you probably could have done a version of this trailer without those shots. But again, the trailer does look really, really fun to me, and I think maybe with the months they have left, they could tighten up some of these shots and make it look much better. But perhaps Marvel has to kind of make a decision here, like if you're gonna do a show with Hulk as the main character with another Hulk and maybe even more Hulks and a ton of weird stuff like that going on, you need a lot of CGI work. So you've got to probably up your budget and give yourself more time to get this stuff finished, because if She-Hulk as an actual show, when released, has this bad of CGI, it'll be all over the internet. A lot of people will talk about that, and for several folks, it will probably take them out of the show, which is a damn shame because the show seems super fun. Now, let me finish off by talking about why I'm so damn impressed with this trailer and why I think I will enjoy this show even more than Moon Knight. Now, look, Moon Knight is a well-crafted narrative. The character study and the acting is absolutely incredible, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a sad downer of a show that doesn't really connect to the MCU much at all. I have no idea where it takes place in the timeline or how it's affecting other MCU properties. With She-Hulk, it's right on Front Street. She's literally with an Avenger. She's working for a government organization, the superhero legal defense team or whatever it is, that's involved in not only individual cases of superpowered people, but probably legislation and sort of precedent being set in the world for superhero stuff. And that feels really right for She-Hulk, because after the Civil War event in Marvel Comics, She-Hulk would often represent characters and heroes that did not sign the Superhero Registration Act and were being prosecuted by the government. And so I could see a scenario here in the show where Hulk and possibly Wong and some of the other Avengers that are officially working for the government, and that's how they have that Stark Tech and all of this different stuff, actually come to a head or come into conflict with Jennifer, who ultimately looks behind the curtain, doesn't think it's right, and wants to represent different superpowered people that are just trying to live as free citizens and don't want to sign these papers to work for the government. As an MCU fan, I've been dying for more connective tissue. I've been dying for more fun MCU flavor that shows us what the Marvel Cinematic Universe actually looks like. Ever since Endgame, it's like they're afraid to show us what the world is actually like, how the governments are actually operating. Like, what is that actually like what's happening in the world? And this show, in part, seems to be exploring those ideas and concepts in a really fun lens with a ton of bombastic comic book stuff. I mean, you're likely getting Daredevil in this show. You're likely getting, other Hulks, maybe even more Hulks than just Hulk and She-Hulk. Titania, the Wrecking Crew, friggin' Frogman is in this trailer. It's absolutely wild. And considering all the stuff I heard about She-Hulk having a lot of trouble, I was shocked at how much I love this trailer and how much it got me excited for the actual show. But I'm sure you've got some thoughts about the different things in the trailer, the wax CGI, and how much you're anticipating the show. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments section below.